Tomorrow, I embark on an adventure, and I have no idea what's in store. I mean, logistically, I know that I'm going to get on a plane after taking an Uber to the airport. And I know that I am going to see my dear friends and mentors who have transformed so many aspects of my life and helped me come back to myself. And I'm going to see the fellow alumni that I have grown to love and appreciate. And I know that I'm graduating from Virtual Coach Accelerator. I'm no longer a student. I mean, I'll still be around. Of course I will, because nobody's getting rid of me. First of all, I found my home and I found my family. And no matter where I go from here, our paths are going to cross. We are going to still be in connection. And I'm still going to love and support and come in when I can. And I've also learned how to protect my energy and how to honor myself with what I need. And the last 6 months, especially, I have really had to go inward and I have had to rest a lot more than I wanted to. I've taken a lot of action. I've built a lot of things that years ago I never would have thought I would have had created. I read my book and I put it out on YouTube, and the videos are dropping every single Friday. I have more ideas. I came up with another way that I'm going to go with my business partner and best friend, because she and we get into these conversations when I would be teaching her, when we would be jamming out, because when she had come to me, she had just wanted to know what the heck had happened. And she wanted somebody to make sense and to empathize and to show her that she wasn't crazy, basically, for her feelings. And I loved on her. I had the understanding of how the system worked and our birth culture. And I was able to give that to her. And we actually sat down and we read a book together. And it was called Reclaiming Childbirth as a Rite of Passage, which is Rachel Reed's book. I'm going to totally plug her because the way that she talks about birth is powerful. And there was even things that I didn't quite grasp until I went and read her book. And then going back into my own experiences with my children when I was giving birth, I'm like, oh, now that makes sense. And it really resonated with Jenny, my business partner. And she and we just got into these conversations. So what would happen is I would read a passage, just a small little passage. She thought I was reading her the entire book. No, I was reading her passages. There was no way that I was going to read her the entire book. I mean, first of all, this book is way too thick. So what I'd done is I'd taken my Kindle and I'd read bits, like the things that I thought were most important to basically convey the message. And I left out all the fluff. And then we would sit there and I'd read that and she'd be just glued to her seat. And then we'd talk about those few passages for 20 minutes or more. Sometimes our calls went for like an hour or two, sometimes 3 hours, depending on what we would really get into. We'd get into how it tied into personal things like business sense and past experiences with relationships and our childhood and how we felt as children and all of it. Like, because birth is a metaphor for life, we were able to really go deep. So I'm getting somewhere with this, is that I recognized that when you share something, even something incredibly vulnerable, like a story or something that you've written that was from the heart and soul, other people resonate with it. And so I have shared a lot of my heart and soul. And I've never shared this one thing. I never thought I would. I only ever shared it with one other person. And at the time, I thought that it would have been the shift that was needed to change a situation. But it wasn't. Because the thing is, when you share your heart and soul and someone pretends that they get it, but they don't actually get you, and they don't actually have that love for you, eventually that mask does come off. And I've talked about how the mask slips. And the thing is, when I'd been sharing from a place without seeing that the mask wasn't going to stay on, that it was a mask. And I was still kind of processing that. I was still trying to get free. This happened way back in 2019. I had started going to therapy soon after my situation with my ex. Well, he had been my current partner, but he had suddenly left me the day before I was going on a trip for a convention because I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to get my impact out there. And earlier this week, I had also seen a message from, like, it was a post from someone in the birth community who is highly, highly influential. She is like one of the people that really sparked a fire in me and showed me I wasn't crazy and that my feelings were valid and that, yes, this wasn't right. And that here is what we're dealing with. And then I took her structure and I looked at what else was going on there, put it through the lens of psychology, and I went deeper with it. In fact, your empowered birth would not exist if not for her. And the thing is that we all struggle with this feeling of not being good enough or not knowing enough, not being able to go to that next level. When you know it's happening, there is no other option. Like, you could stay stuck, but it is going to be painful for you to stay stuck because it is now killing something inside of you or harming your children. And this was the thing, is when you recognize that the people that you're meant to help, when you're putting out your light, and I shared this in class just recently too. It was freaking awesome breakout room. And I shared with this woman and I'm like, okay, would you like me to share the tools? And if or do you want to go deeper into your have the answer come to you? And she's like, I want to hear your tools. And if we still have time, we can go deeper into mine. So I'm like, okay, we're going to use the time well, and I'm going to share. And it's basically this. There is somebody scared who needs your light. They are like the most important person. And if you don't share your light, they're going to stay stuck and broken and shattered forever. For me, that was Jenny. I mean, Jenny, when she came to me, she wasn't even going to have another baby. She was so gutted and shattered and felt so betrayed. And she has voiced this. And there's actually videos of her voicing this on my channel and everything, where she's like, I felt so betrayed by everyone who'd ever given birth before because they didn't warn me about this. And I'd gone and I'd read all of the natural birth books and I thought that I was going to have what I wanted. And then it's like a completely different way. And she had been completely disrespected. Now, I had already been in the birth space for a very long time, so I understood that. But she was a new mother who was also very strong and powerful. And Jenny is not someone you want to mess with. I mean, Jenny is someone who has risen up from the ashes herself. If she wasn't a Pisces, I'd think she was a Scorpio because of just how powerful she is. She's the kind of person that will go out and write complaint letters and then formulate those letters in a way so that the medical system understands it. And she goes out and does research to make sure she gets the exact words. Like, she is very methodical. And she came in and she was absolutely broken. So the thought was like, if I don't share this with her, she's going to stay broken and shattered forever. And she's going to think that her body's broken and defective and she's never going to heal. That's not okay with me. Don't you dare do that to my Jenny. I can't do that. But then on the other side, there's also someone with a big stick or an imaginary version of the big stick. I call these the fear traps. And it's basically the fear of punishment and fear of pain, both of those, but mostly fear of punishment. Because it's like something external. It's not that it's too hard to do. You know, you could do it. You could push through. And it's not that you're afraid of something going wrong because you're like, you know, I could probably figure this out. But it's like that punishment. It's like, if you do this, if you share your light and help this person from drowning, from dying, I'm going to beat you with a stick. So your choice is basically watch this person, and it could even be yourself, have their soul basically die, and watch it happen. And it could be slow and it could be painful, or it could be fast, but it was probably going to be slow and painful. It's going to be a really excruciating death. And there's just going to be nothing left. You have to watch that. Or you have to somehow take that stick away and beat that person with it, because they're the enemy and they will kill you if you do not beat them with that stick. There is no more loving on this thing, this entity. This entity does not care. It has no empathy. It does not care. No matter how much love you try to give it, it's just going to keep taking and taking and taking your love, and you can't give it to the one who needs it most. So this is where I was basically at. And, you know, we have those times in our life where we think we're too much or not good enough, or we don't know enough, or we're going to get in trouble if we say this, or we're going to not get love anymore if we do this. And that's why I want to share this with you. And as I said, this is incredibly vulnerable, and I might cry. And if I do cry, I mean, it's my tears. I mean, I wrote this after, like, it was a month after he had already cheated on me and got another woman pregnant, and we were trying to leave, and he had suggested therapy. Like, that was the first thing. It's like, we should go to couples counseling. And he faked the first session. But my therapist knew that he'd faked the first session. She's like, he's not really in this. He's doing this as like a thing, but he doesn't actually, like, you need to get healthy, is what she basically told me. It's like, I want to see you. Instead of doing couples counseling, I want to see you. I want to help you. And I had recognized, like, you know what? I do need to talk to somebody. I'm already trying to work through this. I already can kind of see that this is an abusive and toxic situation, and it's just gotten even worse. And now the kids are suffering because, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell my kids that they have another brother or sister coming and it's not from me? How do I explain that to a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, that daddy stepped out and slept with mommy's friend, and mommy's not talking to her friend anymore because she's not a friend, and there's a baby coming? Like, they're not the only ones anymore. And that daddy is going to have to sometimes go and take care of this other baby. And that sometimes we're going to have another baby here. And how am I going to explain that to my family? And how am I going to explain that to my friends? Like, the humiliation of that. And it, of course, I had shared before about how he had actually plunked that child right into my lap after I'd forgiven him. But I was already trying to move away from this. I was trying to break this trauma bond. And I didn't have very much money either. Like, for me to go to therapy every single week for 7 weeks straight was a lot for me to do. And I chose to invest in myself, not knowing if I was going to get that money back, not knowing if insurance was going to pay for it, because I knew that something had to shift. Something needed to change. And through, I think it's the 3rd or 4th session, I recognized one of my ways of processing, and this tool may not work for you. You can try something else. Some of the other ones work. This is how it does it for me. Instead of writing to myself, I wrote a story where I was the outside observer looking in at these 2 people, basically, is what it was. I inadvertently was doing parts work on myself without recognizing that I was doing parts work. And of course, my therapist was incredibly impressed. She was like, wow, you just did parts work on yourself, and it looks like you're getting close to a breakthrough. And she'd ask me a question, and I'll share that question at the end. But This was in the summer and fall of 2019. And here it is. There are two people living in my head. One is the confident, strong woman. She is the mother. She loves and cares for everyone but herself. She is smart, resourceful, intuitive, and compassionate. She is the one you can count on to be there for you when your life is falling apart. She is the one who encourages you and points out your best traits and qualities. She loves fiercely, and her love knows no bounds. Nothing can stop her, except for the little girl. The little girl is insecure. She is weak. She is a child trapped in the body of the woman. She is too trusting, too naive, and too forgiving for her own good. The little girl has been hurt many times, but she keeps holding out hope. The little girl just wants to be loved. The little girl does all she can to get that need for love met. She forgives anything if you will just love her. You could beat her, tell her she's worthless, tell her you don't want her anymore, lie to her, cheat on her, and she will believe it is her fault. She will not allow herself to believe anything else. She will just try to be more pleasant to you. She will ignore and squash down any feelings that you are wrong, and she will lick your hand like a big, dumb dog. She hasn't learned anything. No matter how many people hurt her and jump in and out of her life, she won't let herself accept that maybe it isn't her. She keeps the mother from moving too far forward. She clings to her legs, trapping her and begging her, please don't let them leave us. And the mother, being a mother, she feels bad for that little girl. And so she holds herself back from doing whatever is frightening that little girl. We can't be alone, the little girl whispers. She's afraid of being alone forever. She wants the strong arms of protection, the security of knowing what is going to happen next, even if that something is a tired pattern that has grown stale and repetitive and toxic to her. At least it is familiar. At least she's not alone. The mother looks down at that little girl and she shakes her head because she is a strong woman and she has aspirations of having a fuller life, a beautiful life that might be better than the one she's in now. Still, the little girl clings to her legs and tells the mother of the horrors that will happen if they are alone. Nobody will love us again. It took too long to find what we have now, she pleads. We're safer here where it's familiar. The woman fights that little girl, and sometimes she is able to leave and do what she needs to do, and she comes back home feeling strong and capable of anything. And the little girl rises from her sleep and pads down the hall. She sees the return of her mother, and she reminds her that while she was away, the little girl was lacking in warmth and love. And so the mother loses her drive to go out again, and she stays close to that little girl, and she tries to placate her, and she tells that little girl that it will be okay if she goes out again. But the little girl reminds mother of everything else that needs attention. The mother can see that the things the little girl wants, while valid needs, are not going to be met in the situation they are in. But the little girl is afraid. The little girl can't see any other way to get her needs met. And she thinks that if she is good and can convince mother that they are in a good enough place, that mother will let her stay where they are. So mother sacrifices her own needs for those of the little girl because that's what good mothers do. But then mother has children of her own outside of the little girl, and their needs come into conflict with what the little girl demands is best for her. And the mother is torn between protecting her children from the devastation that the little girl causes with her clinging for something that is no longer good for them. The little girl just wanted to be loved. The mother just wanted to be free. Both are in conflict with each other, both struggling for dominance. Right now, at this moment, the little girl is winning and the mother is torn. She knows she has no choice now. What the little girl wants is just no longer possible. And still, the little girl cries and pleads with mother not to let this happen. There has to be some way, she pleads. There is not, mother says, her heart sad for this little girl. I cannot possibly do any more than I have already done. But I can change it, she insists. We can be better. We can endure this too. I have already compromised so much of myself, mother sighs. I have given up everything I could give up, and I am tired of giving up everything. My children need me to be strong. We can be strong where we are, insists the scared little girl. We can make him love us again. We cannot, mother says. He isn't happy, but it doesn't have anything to do with us. We cannot make someone be happy when they are not. He tried too. He has to try harder, she cries, desperate. He promised he would never leave us. He has to try. I have tried. He has tried. But I cannot make him try any harder. I cannot reach him if I ever thought I could. Who knows? I don't know anymore. But I am tired. I am tired of sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice, the little girl insists. It's not. We need to be loved. And giving up on everything else is worth the cost of what we gain. It's not, mother says. It never was worth it. There's too much sadness and pain mixed in with it. And I can't be who I need to be for my children and for myself in this place we are in. We aren't growing. We're going to die in this place if we stay here. We'll die out there if we're alone, the little girl sobs. We'll die of loneliness because we won't have anyone to take care of us. I can take care of us, mother says. I've done it all this time, and I can do it very well. If you will just let go of my leg and let me pack our things so we can move on. And what if you can't? She insists. What if you aren't really good at taking care of us? What if you find someone else and I really like him and he takes care of us and then he leaves too? Or what if we never find someone else and die alone? Your kids can't take care of us. You have to take care of them. Nobody will take care of us. We'll be all alone to fail, and then you will fail your kids and us. The mother is tired at this point. It's been a long day. And she is tired of not being wanted, and she is tired of the abuse from the little girl. She wants to kick her off her leg, to scream at her, and tell her that she needs to go away. But she can't, because the little girl is part of her, and she only acts this way because she wants so desperately to be loved. And so that was my breakthrough. And my therapist had asked me, it's like, how can you get your little girl to start to trust that you can take care of her? And so when the fire happened, which was a month after I finished the therapy, because again, I couldn't afford to go anywhere. And my partner had already left, and I was making peace with that. When I saw that, my children, I rushed them out of the house. I took charge. I had already started to recognize that I was capable of taking care of myself and that I could be okay on my own. And yes, my ex had also tried to weasel his way back in, and he promised he would change. The thing is that when people say that they promise that they'll change, and they only pay lip service and don't actually have the true intention, you can see it. Because what the mother needed to do was to set boundaries and have that desire to beat that person with the stick that was trying to hurt her and her children and that little girl. I needed to recognize that my dreams were bigger than my fear. The people I was meant to help needed me. My children needed me. My son was being traumatized. I'm still working through that trauma with him. Even now, he's 11 years old and I left for good when he was 8. When he was in 3rd grade, that was it. When he said, "I'm afraid," when his shoulders would actually like release that tension because there was so much fighting going on. Like there was just this energy where my former partner and I, we just did not, we clashed. We clashed. And there are 3 great loves that come in, like the types of love. I'm not even going to say it's like 3 people. It's the types of love. There's the soulmate love that feels easy and natural, but they don't grow with you. They're there for a season in your life to help you, but they will not be able to grow with you. And they cannot stand for your growth because you get to a point where they start to get afraid and they try to hold you back. And they do it out of love. They do it out of that fear that you're going to get hurt out there, kind of like the little girl clinging to the leg. Then there's the other type of love out there that you have seen somebody and they are giving you all the attention and they are showering you with praise. Maybe they're a friend, maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a romantic partner, maybe it's a family member, but it's kind of conditional. It's a conditional love. It's, I will shower you with all the praise and affection, but don't you ever get too high up on me because I'm going to squash you down because I have to be the one receiving. If you're giving that attention to others, you're not giving it to me, and that's not okay. And I'm going to make you bad and wrong. This is the kind of love that I had fallen into because as that scared little girl, as I said, like she would get beaten, she'd get cheated on, she would get taken advantage of, and she'd just keep giving. There were no boundaries. So that's the thing. You have to value yourself. The little girl did not value herself. So she'd try to get love outside of herself. And then she would do all these things to try to get love. And she'd be like, oh, if I love you more, if I forgive you for this thing that really, really hurt me and really isn't okay, but I'll overlook it. I'm not going to see that this is a mask that you're wearing. I'm going to pretend the mask is you. And I'm going to just keep doing that. Well, I was only able to do that until I had children. And suddenly I saw what that was doing to my children. And as the protective, loving mother that I am, I became fierce. They say often that you start to see who is really in your corner after you have kids. And this is true with mothers. They're like, I lost a lot of friends after I became a mom. I lost rapport with a lot of family members when I became a mom. Sometimes I realize my partner that I'm with is actually horrible and I have to have a divorce. And everybody's telling me, well, you should have picked a better baby daddy, but I didn't know until I got pregnant. Because suddenly you're no longer, when you don't have those boundaries and that love for yourself, you're just out there giving it. Yes, there's going to be people that come in and they're going to try to steal it. And they're just going to take advantage of you. And they might use coercion and they might use fear to try to get your light, your love, your power from you. And the thing is, you have to be able to be willing to take that stick from their hands and muster up that courage and have that indignation and be like, you are not going to make me afraid. You are not going to bully me. I will find a way to fight you. You make it so impossible for them to stay because it's like you kick, you claw, you fight until they're like, you know what? This is really not worth it. I thought that I could have scared you and intimidated you and got you back to being compliant, and it's not working anymore. That kind of love is the one that teaches you to put your boundaries in place. The soulmate love is showing you, it's like, you know what? I have these people who love me and they can't follow me where I go. So I need to be able to love myself enough to be able to leave the nest and know that wherever I go, I'm going to find love because I've got it. They didn't ever stop loving me. It's just that our love is changed now. Our connection is changed. Maybe we went from seeing each other every single day to we keep in touch online, or we see each other once a year. But that love is always there. So when you get back into connection with those friends, when they come up in your newsfeed and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to you in 3 years. How are you? There's no bad blood because they didn't take advantage of you and you didn't take advantage of them. It was genuine. It's just that they aren't where you need to be now. They're at a different level. And maybe some of them will rise up to that level and they will be able to stay in connection with you and you'll get to reconnect. But other than that, like the love is changed. It's not meant to stay permanent. It's not a permanent thing. It's not the family bond and it's not the romantic partner. Like those ones, like you're tight, you're in. But sometimes we have to love people where they're at. And the other one is the lessons, the painful karmic lessons that you have to learn that get you to have that indignation, to be willing to rise up and have that fire and audacity to take that stick away and be like, no, I'm not giving you this anymore. I'm not giving you stuff for free because you keep taking and taking and taking. And now it's hurting and depleting the people that I'm supposed to be giving this to. Like I'm filling my own cup for myself so that I can give it to my children. You trying to come in and take this is taking from my children. This is taking food from my children. And I'm not having this. This is taking away their ability to be their full authentic selves. This is scaring them. This is scaring the children. This is traumatizing the children. I can't have my children crying like this. It's okay what you do to me. I'll fight and I'll get back up. But if you hurt my children and if they see that I am being hurt, literally being shoved down and told I'm not good enough, they are getting a blueprint watching me in this situation. We can't thrive where we're at. We can't get our needs met the way we need them here. It keeps getting taken away. So, yeah, I can survive for a little bit. I can survive. But I'm not going to thrive and neither are my children. And I want my children to thrive. So I'm sorry, but we got to get out of here. And so that's when I created my 5-pillar system, because that was the question. It was like, how do you find those people who can actually grow with you, the right support? How do you find the right people who are actually going to love and support you and have those skills to get you where you need to go, the right facilitators? How do I need to feel safe right now? What do I need to put in place in my environment? Well, one of the things is I needed to get him out of the house long enough that I could start to create a structure so that when he did inevitably have to come back in because the house burned down and then the pandemic happened, it was on my terms. And I'd already created the structure. And it was now my rules. And I was watching. The education, well, I'd already had that. You can be stuck in an information overwhelm. And I was. Before I went into therapy and before he cheated on me, I was already reading things about, is this an abusive relationship? Yes. Oh, but what if? What if? What if? The little girl kept coming up. She kept arguing. The mother was sitting there gathering up all of the information saying, this is what is going on. This is what you need to do to create a business. This is what you need to create your life. This is not going to serve us where we're at now. Here's more information. Here's more data. And the little girl kept throwing the data back and saying, yeah, but I just want to be loved. I don't want to go anywhere. Yeah, I understand, but I don't want to do it because I'm scared, because I don't feel loved right now. It doesn't matter how much data you throw. If you haven't if you haven't gone in and attached yourself to your inner child and given your inner child their security by getting past your fears and having that self-love and recognizing that you have the dignity to be able to have your dreams. You deserve that. You deserve to have that dignity. You deserve to be treated with respect. And nobody gets to tell you what to do. Nobody gets to tell you who you get to be. Nobody gets to tell you what decision is right or wrong for you. Once you have that, that's the right mindset. It's like, I'm afraid of this. And am I actually afraid of this, or is this might possibly maybe happen? I'm afraid of this. And what structure do I need to put in place so that I can move past this? Because on the other side of this fear is the thing I want most. And if I stay stuck, I'm never going to get what I want. Well, I had to do that. I had to do all of it. I created my 5 pillars of the structure and the right mindset and my Phoenix method that I now have for getting past fear. And I started to build that. Now, I didn't have a partner. Obviously, I couldn't rely on the one I had, but I did have the imaginary partner, the one that could possibly be waiting for me in the future. As I was building my life and meeting my mentors and finding that community with Eben and Annie and everybody, my soul family, my swans, when I found that, it had come right at the right time. And that's the other thing. It's like when you are finally ready to move, the pieces start to line into place. And yeah, there is going to be some fear. I mean, I have absolutely no idea what is going to happen after I get back or even when I arrive at my destination. No idea. It's a complete surprise. Honestly, I prefer it that way. I could probably put more pieces together and dig up more information. I could probably do my little spy skills and search certain things and find more clues. I do have those skills. If I do need to find some information, I do have ways of getting it. But honestly, I want to be surprised. I really want to be surprised this time. And that's another thing is like the little girl hated surprises because she couldn't predict them. The little girl would go and sneak downstairs and open up all the presents to make sure that she'd get the things that she wanted because she didn't like to have surprises. The little girl had to control everything. Everything had to be perfect and structured all the time because if it wasn't, she would fall apart. And even the mother, before she set her boundaries and recognized that she needed to protect her children first and protect herself first, really, is fill her own cup and then put it outward to her children, not just try to protect her children and deplete herself. When she recognized that taking naps and eating better and making sure that, yeah, she's going to take the last piece of pie. She's not going to give it up just because she's expected to. No mommy martyr syndrome. When she gave up mommy martyr syndrome, when the mother decided that, that's when she became a freaking powerful badass. And those two have now collaborated. I listened to the little girl. What do you need right now? I need to play. Okay. Well, I need to work. So how can we add play with work so that it's fun and we can get stuff accomplished? What do you need right now? I need to nap. Okay. Well, we do need to nap. And at the same time, if I get an insight, I'm going to record it into my phone so that I don't lose it. Because if we're going to use this time intentionally, it's going to be so that we can do something else later to pour from a full cup. Because I recognize if I don't take a nap, I am crabby with my kids. And I don't want to be that mom. I don't want to be crabby with my kids. I want to be able to be resourced. If I don't meditate and take that time for myself, I'm depleting myself and I can't give all that light out. I can't get those inspirations. So I take care of myself. I get my nails done now. I get my hair done. I go and I get myself some clothes. And I used to deplete myself and just give to my kids. But now I'm giving to myself. That's the thing is like you give to yourself, then you pour outward to the people who deserve it. And you have boundaries in place. to see who is truly going to reciprocate and give back, the ones that are the true, authentic love connections, the family that is like, if you are at your worst, they are still going to love you. And if you're at your best, they're going to clap for you. They're not going to be like, oh, you think you're so high and mighty now. Or, oh, I'm not special enough anymore. I should just disappear because they don't need me anymore. But instead be like, you rock. And you know what? You rock even if you are a blob right now. If you are laying here in bed, a blob, you're still just as magnificent as when you're out there sharing your magical gifts. If you can't get out of bed or you've lost a lot of your shine right now, I'm going to remind you that you're shiny and I'm going to hand you your crown. And I do this when I see people that I admire and that I find to be just, I have that heart and soul and love for them. If they are saying to me, you know, I sometimes don't know what I'm doing, or I'm in overwhelm right now, or I can't handle this. I'm sitting there, I'm like, here's your crown, queen. Put it back on. I think you dropped it. Here. Somebody got it a little dusty, but it's here, and I'm going to clean it off for you, and I'm going to put it back on your head. Let's fix your hair, and look. Do you remember who you are now? Look how pretty you are. Look how powerful you are. Hey, do you remember? You've got royal subjects who are all hanging on your word. Did you forget? While you were in that blob state, did you forget just how magical you are, that we're all waiting for you, that we all love you? And yeah, okay. Do you need to take a day to rest because you need to fill your cup? Go for it. You want to be a blob today? We can be a blob today. Hey, I'll get in with you. I'll sit here and I'll blob it out with you. I mean, we're not going to stay in misery. We're going to intentionally do this. We're going to intentionally eat this ice cream, and we're going to intentionally go on Amazon and shop, and we're going to intentionally complain a little bit about what's going on and the overwhelm, and we're going to talk it out. And we're going to do that part. We're going to have our bitch fit. And then after I've heard your bitch fit, after you felt all loved up, just like that little girl, letting the little girl have her little fit, putting the arms around and saying, I love you. We can do this. I got you. Okay, I got you. We're moving. We're packing. Okay, you got to let go of my leg. Okay, no. I'm not leaving. I'm not walking out the door. It's okay. I'm still here. Do you need a hug? Okay, hug. Okay, good. You see? Okay, now we're going to pick up this. We're going to pick up this book. Yeah. And we're going to put this book in the box. And we're going to pick up this thing. We're going to put this thing in the box. Look, we're packing. Look, we're doing it. We're doing it. See, you can do this. We can do this. Yeah, I know you're scared out there. We'll get there. Right now, we're just going to focus on putting things in the box. We're just going to take these small action steps. And then, well, how did the story end? I took that little girl and I took my kids, and we packed up all of our belongings. And within 6 months of joining my community and having all my friends and having everybody cheering for me, even though they didn't all know every little detail of what was going on, I shared with people that I needed to share with. And then I also shared privately with myself, and I wrote in my journal, and I worked through these things, and I worked through it with my kids because my kids were scared. And I worked with my son. I'm like, honey, I know you're scared right now. And remember, we're getting out. It's going to be so much better. And I shared different pieces with my daughter because, of course, I didn't want her to tip anybody off that this was going on, that this was happening. And at the same time, I just kept that going. Because when you're a mom, when you've got other people to lead, when you have anybody to lead, mother or father, like you need to lead people, even when you don't got this or when you don't know how it's going to end. You've got to have the faith, the sword of truth. And you also need to have your shield. You need to have that ultimate dream. So I just kept giving my kids that ultimate dream. It's like when we get our place, which I have no idea when it's coming because we're staying in my dad's den. We're staying with granddad and I have no idea. And at the same time, something better has to be coming. For something to be so hard, something better is going to come. As long as you remember that, something better is going to come and you keep taking those steps, eventually you get into the most amazing life where you are now in your own place, decorated exactly how you want it, feeling happier than you've ever felt before, feeling more shiny and sparkly, being able to go out and speak to people where before you were a wallflower who used to literally hide in the bathroom stalls because you didn't want the girls to find you in school because they were all mean to you. And then later you found out the teachers checked the bathroom stalls. So you went and hid behind the door just so you wouldn't get sent outside, because going outside for recess meant sitting alone and being pointed at and laughed at because everybody thought you were a loser. And the ones that didn't think you were a loser were too afraid to stand up. They were too afraid to take the stick out of the bully's hand and go and help you. And the few that did, they wouldn't do it consistently. Like going from that to here I am world, here's my book, go and get my stuff, go and like I'm just spreading my light everywhere. I'm putting this on YouTube. And I love on people and I bring them into their greatness. That's my superpower. And I'm going to be connecting with the most amazing, influential, high level people this weekend. These amazing people that when I first saw them, I'm like, oh my gosh, they are just incredible. And how do I get in connection with them just a little bit, just to learn a little bit of their magic? And now I'm just sending little messages with them. I send memes to some of them and it's like just like back and forth, or it's like, oh, I see this cute thing that like I know they like to shop, so it's like, hey, check this out, this would look really cute with your outfit and your style, like I see this and I think of you. Or even it's like a different meme, it's like I saw this thing, it was kind of funny, it reminds me of something that you're into and I just shared it. Like that, instead of worrying, oh, what if they don't ever like me because I'm not special? No, it's like now I'm at this level. It's like I am enough just as I am. And I'm no longer a student. I'm a dear friend. They're my dear friends. I'm really excited to go and see my friends because they're like family to me. Most amazing family of swans I could have asked for. And they see me. And it's just, I don't know. I suspect there's something that they're keeping as a surprise for me. I just don't know what. And even if it takes a while for a surprise to manifest, well, there's no statute of limitations on the gifts of this world. When you put your magic out there, it does come back. And I've also got a stack of my books. If I run into a mom in the airport and I get talking to her while I'm waiting for my flight, I'm giving her a copy, just giving it to her. I'm going to, here, take this. This will help you. And she'll be like, are you sure? It's like, yeah. It's like, but it's your book. Like I could go and buy this on Amazon. No, it's a gift. Take it. Here, I'll inscribe it for you too. So you know you got it from me personally, and you can show others that I gave it to you personally, because I do that too. Maybe I'll take a pen. That's a good idea. I do have to pack. So I'm in planning mode. I need to set up my Uber, and I need to get on like set up for the kids, because my dad is taking them for a little bit and then they're going with their dad, and I've got to get all that set up. But before I go, I just wanted to leave you with that, because I don't know who I'm going to come back as. I mean, I know I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be a higher level of me. I'm going to be changed after this weekend. Something always transforms. There's going to be some insight, new breakthroughs. You're never the same person as you were the day before. You always wake up brand new. You get to decide who you're going to be. So have that little girl let go of your leg if she's stopping you, or that little boy who's stopping you. Recognize that you have everything inside of you that you need to step forward. And that if something's not serving you anymore, an old pattern, an environment, a relationship, a friendship, family, whatever it is, if it's holding you back from doing what you were meant to do, or from protecting people that you were meant to protect, to help those, to love on those, then you need to take action. And I mean, if you need help, you got my 5-pillar system. You have my Phoenix method. I've shared that. You can go find those other videos on the channel, or like you can always get it in the book, or reach out to me. I mean, if you're on Facebook, you're in my friends list. You can just ask me, which one is it that talks about the 5 pillars? Which one talks about the four pieces of STFU for the Phoenix method? I'll tell you. It's out there. I'm not holding anything back. I mean, I don't know. The plane could come down. Maybe this is my last message. But I don't think so. I got so much more in me. The universe wouldn't do that to me. I'm safe and protected. So that's what I leave you with. I'm going to go off to my next level now. I can't wait. I'm really excited. I have no idea what's coming, and I know it's going to be amazing. So I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. And for those of you who are coming to this event, you know which one it is, I'm going to give you a hug, because I'm excited to see you. I mean, I'm always excited to see family and friends. Love you.